Well, now back to my big question at the start of the show. What can be done about African economies and high debt levels? African countries are facing numerous difficulties in accessing affordable debt. In September, Kenya Treasury bills performed at a record low of 38%. This comes less than 3 months after the country cancelled a €982 million Eurobond after investors demanded interest rates of over 20%. Côte d'Ivoire also delayed a Eurobond due to the high cost of borrowing from international creditors. Nigeria went ahead with a Eurobond issuance in March, but at an interest rate of 8.35%, which was 2 percentage points higher than the bond it had issued only 6 months earlier. At the end of 2021, more than 10 African economies had debt levels that exceeded 75% of their GDP. Now, the strains in accessing debt and the high cost of borrowing can partly be attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine war, and the looming global economic crisis. They say those who go a-borrowing go a-soaring. Well, not if the borrowing is for the right reason. Simply put, a country's public debt is considered sustainable if the government is able to meet all its current and future payment obligations without exceptional financial assistance or without going into default. Debt is one of the ways to raise money for development and infrastructure. And there are other ways to mobilize financing, such as raising domestic revenue, improving the efficiency of spending, reducing corruption, and improving the business environment. But these steps take time. Research has found that African countries pay up to $300 million annually in unjustifiable interest rates. So why such high interest rates on African debt? Well, these high interest rates are due to distorted perceptions of risk on the continent and in some cases, biased credit ratings and the high bargaining power held by both private and bilateral creditors. Sovereign debt distress or worse defaults could reverse all of Africa's growth gains. And any austerity measures by governments during debt crisis could increase the cost of doing business. Given this, is it time for a homegrown solution to provide alternative funding sources to governments and reverse the impending debt crisis? Debt clubs are typically led by creditors, not by borrowers. But is it high time we looked at a private sector-led debt club that funds and provides technical support to African governments to stem the tide of debt rises? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Tweet at me. You've been watching Business Week here on Arise News. I'm Rolake Akinkugbe-Filani, and I'll see you next week.